Hey Slayers, welcome back to another episode of Science After Our Podcast. It's your girl, Coach Felicia. Um, we are at the end of 2024, and I felt as though it was appropriate for me to end this year off with something from me, right? I think that for those of you that've been a part of this journey and been on this wild ride with me, know that this year is a little different from all the other years, and I wanted to um be able to come and just not necessarily explain, but just let you know where I'm at and um where I'm trying to get to, right? So if you've been listening to this podcast for the last 5 years, which I can't believe it's been 5 years, you know that normally I have an episode. It started out with one every week, and then we went to two a week, right, when I started doing the interviews, and I've kind of fluctuated, and this journey has just definitely been just kind of like whatever, I'm feeling in that moment or going through would definitely determine, sometimes how I showed up, and that's not necessarily always a good thing. But what I've realized in this season is that sometimes things just have to change, and you oftentimes have to go through certain things to realize that things just have to be different, right? So this year we were kind of all over the place. I feel like that I had a plan um previously, and then I honestly, I'll tell you where the shift happened. When I was working and kind of going through that space of transition in it, going out knowing that God told me to leave and not really sure what that was going to look like. I think I felt like I was walking through this thing with you all, and I wanted everybody to see this, like, look at what God has done, right? And then once I transitioned into entrepreneurship, that was hard, because I don't think that I ever, well, I know that I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like, it wasn't anything that I ever desired for myself. But at the same time, it was what God placed me during that time in my life, right? Um, and so through that, I used what I had at the moment, right? And God kind of really, that's when the interview started, and God really just put me in a space to um Hey Slayers, welcome to another episode of the Science Up Podcast. It's your girl, Coach Felicia. However you found me, whether it was by way of a Google search, Instagram, TikTok, somebody sent you the podcast. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all the new listeners. Thank you to all the old listeners. I'm just glad that y'all are here. We had a goal of hitting 100,000 downloads before the end of this year. We did not reach that goal, but we got to 80,000, and that is super dope to me. Because how I started this year, I was not sure what was going to happen. There were a lot of life changes happening, and so to be able to still say I hit a major milestone is incredible to me. Um, for those of you all who are here and who are new here, I started this journey really because it was an assignment from God, who basically told me to share my story. And as I was navigating life from, working full time to quitting my job to stepping out on faith to being an entrepreneur to we all lived through COVID, and all the things that happened to having to go back to work to finally being back to work. It's been a journey, and I think this year showed me that there's so many things that I was focused on that I didn't necessarily. Mm, I didn't necessarily need to focus on. And so I thought it was very interesting that for my 43rd birthday, which was at the end of 2023, God gave me the word release for my birthday year, right? I know oftentimes people have a word of the year, and I've had that before. I felt like I've kind of I don't know. It would have, if I was listening to something or a sermon or whatever have you. I kind of went off of that, but I feel like this was the first time I had like God gave me a word in my spirit, right? And the word was release, and I didn't know initially what it meant, but now being here on the other side of it, um, I know more than anything, it was to release anything that no longer served me. I know it was to release the expectations I had on myself. I know it was to release the expectations that others had on me. I know it was to release the expectation that I had for God. And that's a heavy one. Because oftentimes we really do be expecting God to be doing some miraculous stuff, right? And it's not to say that he doesn't. However, we sometimes, whether we being truthful or not, we be looking at God like he a genie, and what we want to happen is supposed to happen. And so, I had to let go of a lot of different things. One of the biggest thing was control that happened in various areas of my life, controlling the needs that I had, the things, like I said, the desires I wanted God to give me, things with my kids, within my marriage, within my friend circles, within the job hunt, all of these different things. And so I can say ending out 2024, could there have been other things I could have released? I could have. But I feel like the major things, the things that were pressing for me, those are the things that I released. And I feel better about going into 2025. And the word that he gave me this birthday was stronger. And at first I was like, child, stronger? Like, what? What do that mean, right? Because to me, I guess release is like an action, right? Like you actively have to release them. But this week I really, as I thought about like what stronger means that there's action that has to be taken in order for me to get stronger. And I think a lot of times the action behind getting the strength or the things that you have to go through in order to become stronger is scary because you don't know what's coming, right? I don't know what's going to make me strong in this year, but and I'm getting this revelation right now. In order for me to willingly go into this next season wanting to get stronger, I was going to have to release some control because nobody wants to go through pain. Nobody wants to go through hurt. Nobody wants to go through difficult times. Nobody wants to do anything hard, right? Like, why? Why would you choose that on purpose? But in order for this next thing to happen, that had to happen. And so you, yeah, in real time, you guys saw me have that revelation. So I'm grateful for the releasing. And I think that that had to, like I said, it had to happen in order for this whatever next is coming, and I'm ready for it. Today, I just wanted to go over some things that have been, I guess, been on my mind for the last couple of weeks. And it all started when a dear friend, who is the owner of Jesus Be Knowing, Summer Theodore. Okay, guys, that's a it's a plug. Go ahead and go to the website. But also, sometimes the Lord will put some people in your path that will make you have to rethink how you are moving, acting, what you're doing, whether you're being obedient, all of those things. And Summer was the person for me this year. So I saw her at church, and she came up to me and she's like, no, here's the thing. I've seen her multiple times at church, but this time she walks up to me and she says, "Hey, what's going on with the podcast?" And I was like, "Okay, what's for dinner? What you making?" I'm trying to think, maybe it's chicken. And so she's like, I think she thought I didn't hear her. And so then she was like, "Well, I'm not really sure, but I asked like, what are we doing with the podcast? I haven't heard anything." And so then I was like, "Oh man, you ready for Thanksgiving?" Like, and she was just like, "Oh, I see what you did there, right?" And so we had a nice conversation, and I walked away from that conversation just thanking her. I think the next day I texted her and was just like, "I just want to thank you for, pulling my card, right?" Like, because oftentimes we think that if we don't say anything, if we don't do anything, nobody else is paying attention. And so nobody knows that you're missing, that you're MIA, right? Nobody knows that you're avoiding something. And I've shared on here multiple times. For me, a lot of times when I know God is calling me to do something and it's not necessarily difficult, but I don't really feel like it, I just avoid it altogether, right? And the thing with the podcast is wasn't that I didn't want to do it. I think for me, I just was like, I don't even know where do I go from here, right? Like because I felt like I had a whole purpose prior to this new season of life, and it just felt like I don't know, it just felt off to me. Like I just didn't feel good about it, and so I just was like, child, if I pull out the microphone, I pull out the microphone. If I don't, I don't. Right? Like that's literally how I was feeling. And so just having that conversation just kind of prompted me to make I don't know, just if not really do anything differently, but just like just think about it. And I'm looking right now to see if I did, and I didn't. I don't think I did. No, I didn't. I think the one oh, so the conversation that we had, I literally was like, I don't know, but I do know that I have some old episodes that I need to release, right? Like I have some interviews, particularly of women that I interviewed at the beginning of 2024 prior to me going back to work that I had not released. So the next day, I get a DM from somebody was like, "Hey, hope life is going well. Do you know when my episode is going to drop?" And I was just like, "Okay, but like you got to do this, right? Like you literally have to put this stuff out because one, you promised these people, and like at the end of the day, I'm going to be who I am, and I'm going to be a woman of my word. But I hadn't done it because I felt like um I felt like God had given me a break and allowed me to be on hiatus. So this is where we're going. Um, I took advantage of a hiatus, and I'm going to tell you about that. So anyway, after talking to her, I went home and I was like, you know what? I do got some stuff I need to release. Let me release these episodes, right? So I released the episodes, and I start going. This had to. I'm looking at the list, and it had to be it was like September, I guess. It has to be like September, October, something like that, because I released them in October. So anyway, Thanksgiving comes. And so I get a text message from Summer, and hey girl, hey. And so she was like, Jesus be knowing is having is this in the year 5, and I want to do an anniversary. Would you mind hosting it? We do an IG live, and I was just like, there's certain people in your life that you just know you're gonna say yes to. She's one of those people. So I was just like, yeah, sure. Whole time on the inside, I am like, what? I haven't done a live in over a year. I don't think I did a live in 2024. I could be completely wrong. I just don't even remember. I actually don't think I did one. So I don't think I did one. I think the last one I did was in 2023, right? So it's not that I haven't done it before, but I think I felt rusty. And I also felt like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna be honest. I was like, ain't nobody checking for me no more. Like it's not I'm just I don't know, maybe I'm out of it, right? Maybe it's just not my thing. So she tells me when it's gonna be. I say, sure, I'm gonna do it. It's like December 1st. So I say, yeah, I got it. The entire week from Thanksgiving Day all the way. When I say you, I had the amount of anxiety that I had. And so, my husband's like, what's going on? And I was just like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know why I feel this way. I'm not I was like, I'm nervous. I wanted to be well for her because it's not like it's me just going on there doing whatever. Like the whole purpose is to like make it impactful for her. Like it's her anniversary, right? In that very moment, I realized I didn't even celebrate my own 5-year anniversary. Like, dang, I've been so distracted and had given myself a hiatus in February, intentional because I went I started working. And so I think in that space, I I don't know if I asked for permission or if I kind of just told God like, "Hey, I can't focus on both, right?" And I remember, I think I may have done an episode about this. I don't know, but I remember talking to one of my friends and just one of my coaching friends and just talking to her. And she was like, "You get to choose. You get to choose what your business looks like right now or later. Like the choice is yours, right?" And so I know what I did was, as I said, right now I need to put my effort into work because for a period of time, I didn't think that I could be successful at both working full time, going back full time in a job field that I'd never been in, and also still be successful at this, right? And so I made a choice. I made a choice to put my energy into my job. Right or wrong, doesn't matter. That's just a choice I made. Something that during the live that Summer made mention to was that there's times that we could take advantage of hiatuses, right? And when she said it, like something clicked in me and was like, it was necessary in the beginning. You needed that space. You needed to be able to kind of recalibrate and decide, figure out what goals and priorities, put your priorities in place, right? And at that moment in February, March, April, May, maybe the podcast wasn't a priority, right? Maybe that was something that needed to be set down for a moment. But then the choice not to pick it up is all on me, right? The choice not to decide whether or not this was the next thing or this, not that this is the next thing, but the choice not to decide whether I was going to pick it back up was completely on me. And so I was wrestling with myself all through the year because there was this space where I felt okay, like this is exactly what I need to do. I feel like God gave me a green light to take this hiatus, and then the moment that hiatus was supposed to be up, is when I started feeling the discomfort and maybe I should say something, maybe I should do this. And so I would do little stuff, right? Like I found some quotes and I was like, well, let me post this, right? And I think really what was happening now that I'm thinking about it, I think I was having an identity crisis for myself, right? Because I didn't know what was I doing because so many times you've done courses, listen to people. It's like, oh, you need to niche down, blah, 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 blah. And here I was, a person in the beginning who was like, hey, I'm just here to tell my journey. Let me tell my story about having self doubt, to the next thing to being like, oh, yes, I'm here to help, Black women who want to, leave their job and step out on faith. And then it was, oh, I'm going to help the person to discover like it was all these different things, right? And throughout this entire time, I feel like I've always said, and I have friends who know, I've always said, like, why can't I just do what God told me to do? Why can't I just help people slay their self doubt? Why can't it just be as simple as that? Why does it have to be in order for them to X, Y, and Z? But if I don't know what they want to do, that although I know that's not on me, I just feel like I don't even want that pressure. Like, because the work is up to you, right? And if I'm just sharing my story, all I want to do is inspire you to be able to try. I just want to inspire you to bet on yourself. I want to inspire you to um see me and the struggles that I've had or the things that I'm going through and say, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it, right? And I think that what I know what I was struggling with was, now what do I say? Because here I was telling you to take a leap of faith and leave your job, and that the Lord was going to bless you abundantly, melodies from heaven. You wasn't going to have to go back to work. Meanwhile, I got a whole full-time job, right? And I think I felt imposter syndrome. Like, how can I go on here and say all this stuff when really I'm working? Like, I don't even know, what am I telling them? And in that live, what I felt, what I knew, what happened for me in that moment was, one, I knew I had to come out of hiatus. Like, girl, time is up. We back. Like, this is it. Number two, God gave me a platform for a reason. However, I decide to use it as my business. It does not have to look like what what whatever, who coaches, whatever, like gurus, whatever you want to call it, what other people think it's supposed to be. This is between me and the Lord, right? And so as long as I'm doing what He's asking me to do, He will continue to bless me in the way that I need to be blessed, right? Three, shit happens. Like, that is life. And for whatever reason, why I needed to go back to work is different for the next person's reasons for having to go back to work. But that does not negate what it is. That doesn't negate that self doubt shows up in your new workplace. Okay, that doesn't negate that self doubt shows up in your next season. Like, that doesn't, it doesn't take those things away. And so I think what I thought was supposed to happen was that here I was going to be the answer, the cure, the fixer, and that's not it is. I'm just here to bring awareness. I'm just here to still use my platform for other women to talk about what they've done and to get strength and knowledge and inspiration from them, right? Part of the journey behind the business is being able to have other Black women talk about their self-doubt journey and for us to be able to see that it's possible, right? If I don't continue to do this, who gonna do it? Ain't don't nobody else got slain self-doubt but me. So he gave it to me for a reason, so then that means I gotta see it through. And so um knowing that I took advantage of the hiatus and I needed to do something. I said, you know what? I need to put the rest of these episodes out. I had two more that I needed to do for the year. And then I was like, and then I need to get back on this mic and I need to figure out what it is. And some of it is talking about the same stuff, but some of it is now it's from a different perspective because now I've been through some stuff. Now I've seen what God can do, right? When I first got on this microphone, I was scared about this what my voice sounded like if one person was going to listen. And we just celebrated 80,000 downloads. That is no longer my fear. I ain't worried about whether or not nobody going to listen because I know y'all listen. You know what I'm saying? I know that people are listening because people are still telling me they still listen. So that is no longer my concern. My hesitation or my self-doubt comes into what's next. Remember I said the new word is stronger, right? What am I have to go through to make me stronger? There are things that God put in me that have to be released, right? And I have to be able to do some things in order to get to where he wants me to. I still have the same goals. I'm still trying to be on Essence stage. I would love to interview Oprah and Beyonce and Mary J. Blige. I would love to be able to talk to these people who are at such a high state that y'all think that they have overcame, like they figured out a way to overcome their self-doubt but not knowing that it still shows up, right? These are the people I'm trying to get to, but I can't do that hiding in my house. I can't do that it's taking a hiatus for I have to be able to let that stuff go and be able to move forward and be able to say, okay, this is where I'm going, and in order for me to get there, I'm gonna have to do that, right? That brings me to a conversation I had with my therapist, and I made a reel about it um a couple of weeks ago. And I did not realize how important that statement was, not only to other people but also to myself. um I shared in the story that we were having a conversation, and we didn't figure it out how to just be like, life is life, and this, that, and the third, whatever the case may be. Like when stuff is just happening, and she challenged me to reframe how I was thinking, and told me to say, think about that I'm living in the middle of an answered prayer, and I was sitting there like, man, that is whoa, like whoa, like that's good. I'm living in the middle of an answered prayer, and in the midst of it, I was like, it just imagery, like the vision came up to me as like being on a boat, right, and like going through this storm, but you left something to get to a different place, right? And I was just like, man, I'm really what I don't want to happen. I don't want the boat to get destroyed in the midst of the storm. And I'm talking about like structure or foundational things that you have created, whether it's within yourself, within your family, within your marriage, within your friend groups, within your job. That sometimes when you're going through, you don't want you want to leave all that stuff out. Like let that stuff be okay. You know what I mean? Like I can go through it, Lord, but don't destroy this. Don't break up that. Don't mess with that. Like that's maybe it's not about destroying, maybe it's about reinforcement, right? How do you make sure that and this just got deeper because it's thinking about the foundational stuff. What is it built on, right? Is it built on sand or is it built on a solid foundation, right? Those are the things we got to think about as we're going through whatever it is we're going through. And so as I was thinking about that, one of the things that I said was like, I prayed for this. I did not pray for the stuff I'm going through, but I prayed for whatever is going to be on the other side, right? So I'll use this for an example. 7 years ago, when God first gave me I heard the voice of it's time to go. I told y'all I added a whole bunch of other stuff. I was like, okay, I'm gonna leave in October so that way I had Thanksgiving and Christmas off, and then in January I'm gonna go back. It did not happen like that. If you need to know what happened, you're gonna have to go back 200 episodes, baby. You got to go back 200 episodes, okay? But in that time, I've it's God, okay? Told me to look into my EAP. That's an employee assistant program. If your job has them, they generally have now. They absolutely have therapists, but they also have coaches. And so I call, and I think at that moment I just was feeling overwhelmed with like, what do I do? What do I do? And so I call and I get connected with a coach, and I so many things. Okay, y'all. Like, first things first, I remember asking that lady, like, so wait a minute, you get paid to like just listen to people talk about like and kind of help coach them through certain things. That's the first time I ever heard of like any type of coaching outside of Iyanla Van Zant, right? But that's the only time I've seen somebody in real life like doing stuff, and I was just like, man, that would be dope because at the time in my job, I literally was like figuring these things out. Remember, all of this stuff happened before the podcast, like all of these revelations. So anyway, so at the time, there is no slaying self doubt. I'm not asking about entrepreneurship. I'm literally trying to figure out how do I go into my next job. And she told me to make a heaven and hell list. And she was like, hell is going to be everything you absolutely do not want. On your heaven list is all the things that you want, right? So I knew off the break, I can't work in no cubicle. Ain't gonna happen. I was like, I tried it before. I worked for the government. Trash. Not gonna. I can't do it. Like I knew I needed to be around people, right? I needed to be able to have interactions with people, right? I knew I didn't want a micromanager. I was like, I can't deal with that. I need freedom. At the time, my kids were like 7 and 9. So I was like, whatever, mind you, again, guys, I don't know what's coming. But in this moment, 2017, yes, 2017, I'm like, okay, well, we got to figure this out. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Right. And so, on the heaven side, I was like, I need flexibility. I need to be able to not have to worry about asking somebody, can I leave my job to go take my kids? I need flexibility to be able to, I am the primary parent in my household. I need to be able to still take my kids to school and pick them up. Like that has to be me because of my husband's job is he's on a shift and it doesn't his shift doesn't work that way. He would never be able to do that, right? Um, I needed to be able to be in a place where I felt valued and I felt like I was being heard. I needed to be able to trust the people that I work with because at the time I was in a weird place with my job and I just was like, everybody's a liar and I can't I can't handle it, right? And I remember filling that list out and being like, man, this would be dope if I had this. And it wasn't until days later after she said this to me, I was telling another friend of mine and I it hit me in that moment and I said, oh my God, I am living in an answered prayer right at this moment from 2017. I know what I wrote down. I know what I said I wanted. And when I was looking for jobs, because at the time, this time last year, as I was looking for positions, I was looking for positions that were just I was trying to find space places that was stay at home, right? But we in this weird space still now where people are coming back home, going back to work. Weird and making people go back. And so I couldn't really find anything that worked out. I was trying to find organizations that I knew what I wanted to do. If I had to go back into healthcare, I had to. But if not, I really wanted something that was going to hone in on the skills that I had developed and that the things that I knew that I was capable of doing during COVID and from before that. I knew I still wanted to do leadership. I did not want any direct reports. But I knew that there was some specific things, and I at the time, because I felt like my back was against the wall with knowing that I was getting ready to send two kids to private school. It was a choice that my husband and I knew that we were making. I was being very specific, right, in what it is, and I realized all along God already had a plan. He already had a plan. He already knew where I was supposed to be. And when it hit me that where I work now far succeeds that heaven list. When I tell you it is light years, I could have never written down or imagined to be working for an organization that genuinely cares about their employees, that genuinely wants to see you win, that wants to hear your input and will implement it. I could have never imagined working alongside somebody who literally trusts that even if it's not 100%, like let's try it, right? I could have never imagined working remotely. Like I literally just I remember writing down. I just wanted to have at least 2 days, not even two. I think I was like I even want one day that I could work from home. To literally be working remotely, to work from anywhere, but you couldn't have told me from 2017 to 2024. You could not have told me that I was going to have to go through all that I went through. And some of this, we all went through it together. Some of it is just my own journey. But I could not have, now I can look back and say it was all worth it. But when we were in it, when we were in it, when you're in it, it's difficult to be like, I prayed for something and this is just par for the course, right? And so I want to encourage you that during this time to when you're in the middle of it, whatever you have prayed for right now, I'm still living in the middle of an answered prayer, right? Just that prayer was answered. But you see how long ago it was, right? So there's other things I prayed for in the midst of that. So again, this is a continuous thing because I could pray for something today and something different tomorrow, right? And so we're always living in the middle of an answered prayer. And so I know that it can be challenging and it can be um frustrating when you're going through stuff because sometimes you just don't understand, like, why is this happening? I don't know, right? I think that we have to remain faithful and we have to remain patient during that time. I think that we have to be, for me, since she said that, there have been things that have come up that got me so irritated, and I have to just stop and be like, Bun, you're living in the middle of an answer prayer. Okay, you're in the middle of it. This is like I say, it's par for the course. Like this is just it is what it is until you get to the other side. How do we reframe this so it's not so frustrating? How do we change this up so you're not so irritated? How do you remain present in what's happening right now? How do you remain grateful for what's happening right now? Right. A couple of months ago, I talked about being content and the fact that some of my hesitation with what was happening in my life is that I was not content with the life that I had because I thought I was supposed to have something different. And because of that, I felt disappointed by God. And it was a hard thing to admit, okay? That I felt disappointed by him. But because I felt disappointed by him, I couldn't appreciate what was actually happening. And so I think when we're living in the fact that we know we're living in the middle of an answer prayer, we have to be so much more intentional about being grateful for what's happening right now because there's a lesson in it all, right? And sometimes it don't have nothing to do with you. Your collateral damage. It may be somebody else's. sometimes we are part of someone else's prayer, right? And even though you could pray for somebody else, hmm, okay, it could be a family member, it could be a friend. You could be praying literally for somebody else's life to be different, but you were part of it. And so you catching it just like they catching it. But you have to remind yourself when that thing is happening with that person, if you praying for your child and you noticing some stuff getting stirred up and you say, you know what? I pray for healing. That as much as you want to be like, now why am I in it? You know what I'm saying? You have to be like, I prayed for healing. This is a part of it. And so now I got the question is, are you going to sit through it? Are you going to walk alongside them? Because sometimes in your healing, somebody had to walk with you. In your journey, somebody had to be there with you. And so you can't just throw your hands, whatever, whatever, or go down that rabbit hole with them. Sometimes you just got to let people figure it out. When you going through it, you got to let yourself feel whatever you going to feel. And then remind yourself that I prayed for something on the other side of this. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know how it's going to turn out. You don't know. You prayed for something. I prayed for a job. I didn't even at that moment, like I was thinking about what would be my ideal job. And this was, I told y'all, working in ministry was not it. But that's where my prayer was answered. Okay. Because if you looking at me, I'm looking at you, you looking at me. That's where my prayers was answered. It may not be what you want. It may not be where you think it's gonna be at. Your prayer may not be answered where you think it's supposed to be. But if that's where it is, you going on because it don't look like the way you thought it was supposed to look. You just gonna leave it. Hmm. That's because that's what happens. That is basically was what we're saying. Like I don't want it because it didn't come in the gift that I thought it was gonna come in. So, cause it don't look like the way you think it's supposed to look, you just gonna leave it over there. hmm I don't think so. I don't think you are. Right. So instead of having the expectation that it's supposed to be wrapped in this beautiful bow that it's supposed to be in this pretty box or this type of thing or this was going to like whatever you think it's supposed to be, let that go. Release that. Go ahead and release it because it ain't gonna look the way you think it's gonna look. But I can assure you it's going to be better than what you prayed for. Wherever it is, whatever it is, it's going to be better. But you got to go through. You got to stay open and be ready for whatever God tells you to do, whatever the next thing is. I've said this before. We cannot receive anything if our hands are closed, right? If your hands are closed because of fear, because of doubt, because of uncomfortability, because you already always in fight mode, like what's up? You can't release or receive either way. So I'm telling you, open your hands, open your heart, be open to whatever is going to happen. And when things get tough, because they will, you just need to remind yourself, I prayed for something, and this is the part of it. And as difficult as this part is, it's temporary. The last thing I would encourage you to do is make sure you are around people who they don't have to know what you're going through. They don't have to know what you pray for. If you have people that you want to share that prayer with, go right ahead. But more importantly, you need people that's going to walk alongside with you, that's going to uplift you and encourage you, that understands that some stuff just going to happen and that's just going to be the way it is and will assure you throughout the time that, girl, you're going somewhere. If you are on a health journey, okay? Um, and we'll talk about that in the new year because I'll just throw this in there. For as long as anybody has been listening to this, there's been a part of plain self doubt that has been a struggle for me, and it's always been my health journey. Some of it is because I want to do what I want to do the way I want to do it. I've said it all the time. I want to be able to be skinny and eat whatever I want. That is not how that works. For me, at least. Other people, it might, but for me, it don't work like that. But I had to make a choice that I know that God is calling me to something that my body literally cannot carry me. If I was to choosing to go down this avenue means that my body has to be able to go. And I knew that where I was and just in this season of life, I could not do it by myself. And so I started my Wagovi journey. I will share that. And like I said, in the new year, but a part of being, even in being on this, Wegovy, which is a GLP-1 medication, there are things that I have to change, right? There are things that um it's going to be hard. Yeah, okay, great. It's going to tell you, you feel like you can't. Well, it takes away appetite suppression or whatever have you, so you don't really feel hungry. But that don't mean you ain't supposed to eat, right? You still got to drink water. Everybody knows I hate water with a passion. Like, I know you need it, but even more being choosing to go down. Like, I'm choosing to go down this avenue, which means that some of the hard things that I dislike, I have no choice but to do it, because otherwise I'll be dehydrated. So I have to drink water. I don't, if you're on YouTube, you can't see my water, because it's green. I gotta drink water all day long, pretty much, right? Like, have been very intentional about increasing my water every single week, because I can't do it all at once, because I already know how I am. But I know that if I stop drinking water, I know how I feel and I don't like it. And so I have to make sure that I do it, right? And so, even though that there's a goal at the end of where I'm trying to get through, there's steps. It's going to be more hard days to come, whether it's about my food choices, because I could choose to eat something that's going to mess my stomach up, or I'm even doing the hard thing by staying on track, by saying no to certain things, by not, um, what's the word, partaking in certain uh, foods or drinks or whatever have you, because I don't like the way it makes me feel. That's going to be difficult, but I'm living in the middle of an answered prayer. But I also have people around me who know what I'm doing. And so when I say, nah, I'm good, I can't eat that, this is all I need, I'm good for right now. I got people around me that's like, nah, you need some water? Like, you okay? Have you had enough water today? I even told my kids, I need y'all to make sure that I eat. Make sure that you see me drinking water. That is about accountability and knowing that I have to I'm doing this, I'm going on this journey, and I need the people around me. So I say all that to say, make sure that you have people who are helping you, who are there for you, who can support you, who can encourage you during this time. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much it for this last episode of 2024. My prayer is that you just continue to be with me on this journey of slaying self doubt. I'm not sure what 2025 is going to look like, but I will say that we're going to get back to the way things used to be. And I'm just going to share my journey, and I'm just going to be here and continue to use my platform to share other people's journeys, their self doubt journey. And my job, again, like I said earlier, isn't to change anybody, it's to encourage, right? And I want to be able to inspire you to take big leaps, to do crazy things, to push past your fear, right? Um, I am going to reread the book called The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to, I need to find the book first. I'm looking around. But I think that there's some goals that we can make for ourselves. Small stuff. It don't have to be big stuff, y'all. Sometimes more is less, or less is more, whatever the phrase is. Sometimes you don't need to do a whole lot. Sometimes you just need to be consistent in a few things to actually see growth and change. Um, So, yeah, I encourage you to think about your own journey and what you want for 2025, and what you want for your year to be. Like I said, mine goes, because my birthday is in November. I'm able to go from November to November. So, for my Obama year, it's about getting stronger. And I'm excited about what that's about to look like, because I'm grateful for how far God has brought me and the things that I've gotten stronger in over the years. And I'm excited to see what what that's going to look like in this space, in a different time, in a different season, right? It doesn't look like what it looked like 5 years ago. Um, but I'm excited to see what it's going to be. Um, Please remember to share. Make sure you stay connected on social media. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Slang Self Doubt everywhere. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube, rate and review, okay, because those things still count. Share this because the goal next year for sure is 100,000 downloads. I'm hitting 100,000 downloads in 2025. That is definitely going to happen. So that comes for me having to do more. Okay, so you're gonna see a lot more of me on this YouTube, on Instagram, I'm going to end this year in this episode, before I officially sign off for 2024 with a prayer for you guys. Um, so, Lord, I just ask that thank you for today. Thank you for this year. Thank you for the things, the lessons, the trials, the triumphs, the journey that we've been through thus far. Thank you for keeping us. Thank you for caring for us. Thank you for loving us. Thank you to those who have been a part of this journey, who have inspired us, who have held our hands through difficult times, who have encouraged us, who have supported us. Thank you for the thank you for the self doubt, God, because without it, we would not be trying to do better or be better, and it would just be complacent. And so I thank you for that uncomfortability that we feel to push outside of our comfort zones. And I thank you for just giving me the space, the words, the heart, the desire, the assignment to be the spokesperson for slaying self doubt. I thank you for the vision that you have put inside my heart. And I just pray that as we continue to go down this journey together, that whatever it is I stand in need of, and all of my listeners stand in need of, that your will be done in each of our lives. We ask for continued love, peace, gratitude, grace, and mercy as we move forward. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Um, okay, guys. Thank you again for listening to the Slang Self Doubt podcast. Last episode of 2024. Until next year. See ya.